Hey there, my name is Michael Adebusoye. I'm a rising sophomore at Berea College, majoring in engineering, physics, and computer science. And this summer I chose to be a part of something deeply meaningful, the Berea Folklife Apprenticeship Program. You might wonder why I chose to participate in this program. Before the last semester ended, I was unsure what I'd want to do over the summer break, but I was optimistic that the best would come. Luckily, my labor supervisor at that time employed me to consider doing the Berea Folklore Apprenticeship. And I did my research and I realized that so much about the Berea Folklore Apprenticeship Program resonated with me. And after a back and forth thinking of what craft I would like to learn, I chose blacksmithing. But I didn't just choose blacksmithing because I wanted to master the craft. I chose blacksmithing because I saw that it weaves into my major, engineering physics. I saw that it weaves into my heritage, being an African, a Nigerian, and a Yoruba. And I also saw that it weaves into history. It makes me think about the evolution of the Iron Age and the amount of innovations that took place for us to get to the point that we are today. And that I just really appreciate. In this video, you get to see me learn from my instructor, Bob. He's been doing this craft for over the past 50 years now, and I'm so excited to learn from him. You also get to see my growth journey, how I transitioned from being an apprentice into becoming a blacksmith. All I can say is just stay tuned. So I'm here with my instructor Bob, and we're about to set up the forge this morning.
Which is the part we like the best.
Yeah.
Everything's dirty. It's not hot yet, but it will be when we take it down. But we have to do this every day, so
yeah. So
just part of it.
So, setting up the forge each morning has become one of the most grounding parts of my apprenticeship. Bob and I do it every day, not just to prepare the fire or to lay out the tools, but to step into a creative mindset. Just like an artist sharpens their pencils before a drawing, this ritual immerses me in the craft and reminds me that I'm here to create. It makes me appreciate every details, from the rhythm of the fire to how we arrange the tools, and that just sets the tone for the day. And what I've come to love the most is that this process doesn't just teach me the mechanics of blacksmithing, it shapes how I grow as a craftsman.
Alright, I'm going to make a hook and show you a couple of things. I think it's probably better to do this after you've done, rather than me say, okay, this is something to do, because now I've seen and I can say, okay, this is a couple of places where you could do this and it'll make it a little bit better. So let me do that, and then we'll start on some other stuff here.
Once the forge was ready and the coke was burning just right, it was time to begin. Bob introduced me to my very first project, making a simple hook. And he told me he chose it because learning to make a hook encompasses almost everything I need to know in blacksmithing, from drawing down the steel, flattening and tapering the ends, bending it cleanly, twisting with purpose, and shaping it right.
Now, and kind of keep in mind some of the things that we were talking about. And now we're going to have some coke here, so it's going to be hot.
The first few times I was tense, constantly checking the fire, trying to read the color of the metal, hoping I was pulling it out at the right moment. I didn't realize how much attention forging demanded. You can't rush the process, you can only find your way through it. And every hit I made was a conversation between me and the metal, and sometimes the metal just pushed back. But over time, through repetition, something changed. I began to find rhythm. I started to see the transformation, not just in the steel, but in myself. And from my very first hook to my last, I could trace my growth in every curve, twist and taper. Once Bob saw I had the basics, he taught me how to make a fire poker, which also meant learning forge welding. Welding and blacksmithing isn't like modern welding, it's ancient. You heat two pieces of steel until they are nearly molten, and then with perfect timing and powerful hammer strike, you forge them into one. At first I struggled, I burned pieces, I mistimed the heat, I made mistakes, but I kept showing up. Trial by fire, literally. But whether it was the first fire poker or an Egyptian wax staff I tried to create, I kept learning. I kept learning not just the craft, but the patience and presence it demands. And slowly I began to understand why blacksmithing feels so timeless. Every piece I made had a story of trying, falling, adjusting, and rising again. And I would say this part of my apprenticeship wasn't just technical, it was spiritual. Towards the end of my apprenticeship, Bob and I moved into more advanced work. We made 3 final pieces: a gong, a set of bracelets, and a knife from a railway spike. Every piece required me to apply what I'd learned differently. The gong taught me its control and welding, the bracelet refined my twisting and shaping techniques, and the knife brought it all together, from drawing down the steel and understanding blade balance. After we finished, I spray painted the hooks, bracelets, the Egyptian wax staff, and everything I had made throughout my apprenticeship. It felt like I was signing each piece. Also, this experience brought my engineering physics major to life through hands-on learning. One moment I won't forget was when Bob told me that steel loses its magnetism around 1400 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's called the Curie point. Seeing that transition happen in real time made the science I've studied feel personal. It reminded me that blacksmithing is hands-on physics, and energy isn't lost, it just transforms. At the same time, this apprenticeship became a way to connect to my Yoruba heritage, not just symbolically but physically. In Yoruba tradition, Ogun, the god of iron, represents power, clarity, and transformation. But the bond between metal and meaning runs deeper than any one figure. Over 2,000 years ago, the Nok people of West Africa were forging iron with precision and purpose. This legacy became a part of my apprenticeship, not just in concept but in practice. Appalachian blacksmithing also owes its weight of memory, survivor, and craft passed down through generation. And making the gong and the knife as my final project didn't just reflect what I'd learned, it felt like standing in both lineages simultaneously. One fire, two histories, and that meant something profound to me. And I want to thank Bob for teaching me. He didn't just pass down the knowledge of blacksmithing, he showed me how to earn it with my hands. I also thank Emily and the Berea Folklife Apprenticeship Program for giving this tradition room to breathe, grow, and continue. There is a proverb in Yoruba that says, "Orisha bo le gba mi, femi sile bo se ba mi." In English, God, see if you can save me, let me be. I carry that line with me from the start of my apprenticeship, not as a complaint, because I came into this apprenticeship with a passion to learn, to be shaped and changed, and the forge met me in that place. It heated, hammered, and refined me until I began to understand not just how to work the steel, but how to endure it. This apprenticeship didn't let me be, it answered me. Through that process, I became something new. I learned that growth doesn't come from ease or perfection. It comes from attention, repetition, and being present when it gets hard. Whether in a forge or a physics lab, I'll carry that with me as a student and as a craftsman.